This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Global Village. I'm Buddy Cunanan. Now, you know, folks, in this show, we take you around the world, you visit amazing places, and meet interesting people. We also talk about issues that impact the global community and topics that bring the Filipinos closer to the world and show the Philippines' connectivity to the international community. Now, tonight, folks, is all about Spain and Philippines relations, specifically Philippines-Spain business ties. And joining me tonight to talk about this topic is the president of La Cámara, or the Spanish Chamber here in the Philippines, Francisco Moreno Velo. Francisco, welcome to Global Village.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about La Cámara.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here, Francisco, because as I mentioned, you know, it's a special show because the Philippines is so close to Spain, historically and culturally and business-wise. And in fact, tonight I'm wearing your national colors. My tie is the official colors of Spain, which is a very, very beautiful orange and deep yellow. And so these are actually the official colors of the flag of Spain.
That is very appropriate because it's the two colors, the colors of the Spanish flag and also the colors of the flag of Catalonia.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay. Interesting. So
I think you chose the perfect tie,
Yes.
tie for this occasion.
This tie is actually the club tie of Galatasaray, which is my favorite, one of my favorite football clubs in the world. Galatasaray, folks, is the one of the famous football clubs in Istanbul, in Turkey, the European side. Okay, so Francisco, let's talk about you first. I understand that you've been here for quite a while, several years. What brought you to the Philippines?
Well, I work for OHL. I'm a head of OHL Construction in Asia Pacific, and we came here to develop business in Asia Pacific and also the Philippines, my company. And well, of course, I found myself very comfortable here with my family. I have very good relations with of course, with the Spanish community, and I also support La Cámara, being the president of La Cámara here in the Philippines.
Now, Francisco, you've lived all around the world. I understand you've lived in the Middle East, you lived all around Asia and South America. How do you find living in the Philippines? Because, you know, given our close cultural and even linguistic connections with Spain.
Well, as a Spanish, or as any expat, we feel very comfortable in the Philippines. The Filipinos are really fantastic hosts, very welcoming people, happy people. So there's a very good environment here, and we feel very, very welcomed by this country, beautiful country. As a Spanish, even more because of our ties, historical ties, cultural ties. So it's very interesting for us and very reconforting to see all the things that we have in common and all the traditions we have in common and all the worlds that we have in common. Even you walk around, even the streets have names that from our last names. Most of the last names are Spanish. Many of the expressions, the words in Tagalog come from Spain. The culture, the food. So it's so many things that yeah, it's really a very good experience.
Yes, and of course also the architecture. You know, we're very Roman Catholic, of course, courtesy of Spain, brought over from España.
Yes, absolutely. The religion. This is a Catholic country. I think the only Catholic country such in Asia, and also so many the architecture. You go to Intramuros, and it's amazing to see those constructions from the 16th century, 17th century. So yeah, so many things that it's really special as a Spanish to live here. Yeah.
And on a personal note, I understand that your family, you yourself, have a connection to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I think a very interesting connection. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, the only picture we have of my family, of my great-grandfather, is a picture when he's dressed on a uniform. He was a captain of the Navy, Spanish Navy. And that picture is around, I think it was around 1880, something like this, in the port of Manila, next to Intramuros. He has, he was looking like me, by the way. So if you see, sometimes I see somebody, a Filipino, that looks like Moreno. I think, well, maybe we're relatives, you know.
He was a sailor after all.
He was a sailor. So. Okay. And so that's the only picture we keep of my great-grandfather. He used to sail near Mindanao, Zamboanga, the Sulu Seas, Palawan, all those islands with his ship. And yeah, and then he went just before the Spanish-American War. He was sent to Cuba.
Must be very interesting, and coincidentally, his name was also Francisco Moreno, your namesake.
His name was Francisco Moreno. He looked like me, but he had a mustache, and yeah, he was a very respected man in the Navy in Spain. He even got the medal. He got the Medal of Honor because of the naval battle against the Americans in Cuba, and he was here, living here in the Philippines with a very good life, although he was away from the family.
Bravo.
Yeah.
It must be a special feeling going to Intramuros and knowing that once upon a time your grandfather, your great-grandfather, must have walked those same streets.
Yeah.
And we had the Francisco Moreno, then naval officer in the Spanish Imperial Navy. And now we have Francisco Moreno, president of La Cámara, which is the premier business chamber, not just in the Philippines, but in Asia, when you talk about how old it is, no? Okay,
Yes.
let's talk about La Cámara. We showed an interesting video before we came on, and it's actually, interestingly, the oldest chamber of its kind in Asia.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the history. Wow.
Well, it's the oldest. Let's go back. We think in this year, I think it's going to be 2021. 2021, it will be the 500 years of the first important encounter between Europe and Asia that happened in Cebu, Magallanes, when Magallanes got to Cebu. And so we represent, Spain and Philippines represent the oldest encounter, real encounter between the Europeans and the Asians, really. And then, you know, in Spain, the first probably, if you want, colony, European colony in Asia was Philippines, which was, by the way, was not a colony. It was part of the Spanish territory because of the kings of Spain did not consider that colony. They considered that Spain by itself. And so yes, we are the oldest chamber in Asia, the Spanish Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines. So we have to acknowledge now the importance of the Philippines, and if you want, the importance of Spain in this context of merging the two worlds.
Yes,
And yes, and so we are, in fact, the oldest Chamber of Commerce in
And the
Asia.
ties between the Philippines and Spain, if you think about the galleon trade, which is an integral lifeline basically to three countries, to Spain, Mexico, and Philippines. Passing through these three countries, and of course the neighboring countries are also occupied by Spain, or Spain had control over. If you think about that route, that long route across the Pacific and across the Atlantic,
Yes, so
this is commerce. I mean, trade and commerce right there.
yes, absolutely. At those times, Spain was the country within Spain and Portugal were the countries that had the most advanced technology. It's like if you compare it now, you must think about the Americans when they are sending space ships,
Sure.
right?
Yes.
To that. At those times, the technology was the sea technology, the marine technology, and Spain had that technology, and that technology was taken part from the Arabs, and part from Northern Europe. But it happened in Spain. One of the oldest universities in the world was here in Manila. It was the third or fourth oldest university.
I think you're talking about University of Santo Tomas,
Yes.
which is older than Harvard University. I think
Yes.
it's 300, 400 years old, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
from early 17th century.
Yes, yes.
So, and that galleon that used to cross the Pacific at those times with those ships, it's amazing the capabilities they had, how they understood the winds, how they understood the manufacturing of the and that galleon for many decades was the connection between Asia and Europe.
And if you think about the goods and the goods and the people who crossed, essentially it was a commerce run, really. I mean, bringing goods from the Far East back to Spain, and then vice versa. And if you think about the length and breadth of that voyage, it's something that really, as you said, for its time, it was a marvel of seafaring, a marvel of human achievement.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the camera. La Camara. It mentioned in the video that it was actually formed right after the Philippines occupied or seized control of the Philippines from Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it established after? I mean, because I would have thought that the formal establishment of such a chamber would have started during the Spanish occupation. This happened after.
Well, I think many chambers in Spain we have chambers in different regions, and they were established more or less in that period of time. But also, probably, I don't know, frankly speaking, the exact reasons, but it would make sense to me to open starting with the Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, Spanish Chamber of Commerce in the Philippines, right after the Americans occupied, because it's clear a sign of the will of having this relationship together, even though Spain, the government of Spain was out of here.
Yes.
So, and until now. So even though this was Spanish for many years, and it stopped being Spain, although that happened, it doesn't mean that we do not share many things in common, and that we should encourage the commercial activity between the countries. So it makes perfect sense.
Yes, and okay, let's talk about commercial activity in the two countries in the context of La Camara.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your organization, La Camara. What is the mission and vision of La Camara? What is and how is it structured?
Yeah, well, La Camara is very simple. It's to encourage relationships between business relationships between the Spanish and the Filipinos, whether it's Filipino companies wanted to do business in Spain, or Spanish companies wanted to do business in the Philippines, whether it's a Spanish community living here wanted to do more business in Philippines or Spain. So it's encouraging this, and a little bit beyond that, it's just to encourage the relationship of the Filipinos and the Spanish by itself, not only even economic relationships. And so this is the purpose of La Camara, and maybe we don't have a vision and mission as a slogan yet.
It's a very corporate
Which is very corporate,
term to use.
and sometimes La Cámara we are not so corporate, but we have a clear purpose. Yeah.
Yes. What is the composition? Is it mostly, I mean, like, how many Spanish companies or members do we have as opposed to Filipino members, Filipino companies?
I don't know the exact number. We have hundreds of members,
Yes.
and then we have big companies that are sponsors of La Cámara. We have a board of directors. We have a yearly meeting in which the directors are chosen by the members, and then the directors appoint one president. And this we do it every year in the month of February. We live of the sponsor fees and members fees, and also we do activities in which economic forums and other types of specific economic forums about tourism, about infrastructure, about we do also events like lectures from important people in the Philippine government, from people from the business community, or from the Spanish government. And we also have now participate in a program of the European Union that with economic support to the chambers, to all the European chambers here in the Philippines.
So very integrated really with the other foreign chambers.
Yes, in this particular program,
Yes.
EPBN program is a program that has been established by the European Congress, and in this program we work together specifically in different type of events.
How is your relationship with the embassy here? Because you guys in the private sector are really an important tool and important medium really in reaching out and promoting Spanish economic interests in the Philippines. Do you have a very close relationship
Yes,
with the embassy?
Absolutely. We have an excellent ambassador, Luis Calvo. All the activities are coordinated. We also have we coordinate with of course with the ambassador of the Spanish embassy, all our activities, and also with the economic office. It's an office established here in Manila, dependent of the economic finance and economic department of Spain, and they also they represent the government of Spain and the state of Spain, and they promote the business here. So we also work with them closely, and of course with the embassy and other institutions such Instituto Cervantes, for instance.
It's nice to see all the Spanish stakeholders in the Philippines having this nice synergy and close working relationship. As you mentioned, our friends in Instituto Cervantes, very good friends of ours, and it's good to see that when you guys have a project, all these groups coming together and helping really promote Spanish ties, friendships, Spanish economic and cultural interests, and all that. Excellent.
No, absolutely. It's the only way.
Excellent. Francisco, we have to pause for a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Filipino-Spanish business ties specifically. We'll also talk about Spain and the current economic situation there, and other matters and issues concerning Spain today.
Perfect.
So guys, stick around because more of Philippines-Spain business ties when Global Village returns.